Money practically flies out of your hand in Japan. You don't get to be the world's third largest economy without having some tricks up your sleeve to encourage people to spend. Oh, look at konbini. The dollar store always has good shit. Rent is this cheap here? I could use a snack. I should go to the konbini. So, how can we keep more money in our pockets during our time here and still get to experience all the fun things Japan has to offer? Well, it starts with knowing the cost of living and a few simple practices that can help you keep those costs low. The high quality of life here does come at a cost, and one which often catches wide-eyed optimists hoping to live out their travel dreams off guard. I know, because that was me. In my first year here, I went to every festival, ate out almost every night, abused the convenience stores, and found myself shocked when the residence taxes, inflated utility bills, and moving costs began piling up. Had I known then what I know now, I would have been able to create a much better experience without all of the money stress. The marketing is true. Pristinely clean areas, high quality of service, low healthcare cost, high quality food and drink at relatively low prices, but it's also designed to encourage constant splurging on food, festivals, and fetishes, which could easily leave you in a financial slump, only to be right hooked when the taxman comes knocking on your door or your company decides that you're going to volunteer to do overtime every day next month. Over the past 9 months, I've kept every single receipt for everything I've purchased in Japan, from 100 yen coffee to medical checkups, and I'll be sharing the cost of things I've come across, along with some tips about things I would do differently if I were just getting started out, in hopes that your trip or your transition to Japan will be a lot smoother than mine was. I'll separate spending into two categories: essentials and non-essentials. Essentials cover the things we don't have a choice in having, like a roof over our heads, taxes, groceries, transportation, and utilities. And the non-essentials are all the fun spends, like a night out or that game console you really wanted. Let's get into the biggest expense you'll probably have monthly, and that's housing or rent. Housing in places like Tokyo and Osaka are obviously more expensive because those are the biggest cities. But for context, I currently live in what's called a 1K, and it came semi-furnished with a washing machine, heating plate, refrigerator, microwave, and internet included. All for a cost of about 53,000 yen per month, along with a management fee of 4,500 yen per month. I'd feel like a fraud if I didn't tell you that finding housing in Japan as a foreigner can be difficult at times, and moving in cost once you found an apartment can be really expensive, often 3 to 4 times the actual rent to cover a gift to the owner called key money, insurance, management fees, and many other things. So planning for a potentially long apartment search as well as a high price tag is essential. Now, in the bigger cities, you can find cheaper housing using share houses. It'll save you a lot of the upfront cost of moving into an apartment, and if I were to do it all over again, I'd go that route, because it saves you a lot of having to buy appliances, and it even helps you make a bit of friends along the way if you're that type of person, whilst you're getting familiar with your options. There are also lots of sites where you can find foreigner-friendly apartments at lower cost that I've heard of. I haven't used any of these myself, so I'm not endorsing them. Now, the next biggest expense isn't sexy at all, but it's the one that catches the most people off guard. It's taxes, insurance, and welfare pensions. These schemes make the quality of life in Japan so much higher. Transportation is awesome, everything is well maintained, and healthcare is extremely affordable. A doctor's visit can often be as low as $50, which is cheap for anyone, especially for you Americans here. And you can claim for a refund on your pension if you decide that you're going to be leaving Japan before retirement age, which basically works like a savings account when used this way. Now, I've lumped these together, but they are actually separate things. If you're coming across to Japan self-employed, you'll have to deal with all of these things separately. But if you're coming across as an employee, most of these will be taken out from your paycheck before it even hits your bank account. These are, of course, based on your salary, so I'm not going to get too much into details here. But be sure to ask around when you first arrive, because there are lots of schemes that reward you for paying residence taxes. Up next is everyone's favorite: food. Now, I'm not talking about restaurants or even street food just as yet. We'll get to those soon. This is about all the things in between those meals. Groceries take up the third largest portion of my spend on a monthly basis. My weekly haul usually consists of peanut butter, cereal, oatmeal, apples, meat, broccoli, eggs, tomatoes, and some sort of juice, and comes up to around 3,500 yen per week. This doesn't include my toiletries and other big purchases that I make once a month, which makes up my monthly budget total of 23,000 yen. Now, the amount of questions I see about this on the internet, it'd be wrong for me not to address it. Fruit is something kind of controversial here. Yes, it is expensive, but you can find fruit for cheap if you shop seasonally. Things like mekans are literally given away. You have to beg people not to get them. Here's something you might like. Buying single servings of food also costs about the same as preparing single servings of food, depending on where you're eating at. If you go to the convenience store or to the grocery store after 7 p.m., you can get a meal that would cost the same as if you were to cook one yourself. And it's delicious. Now, you may have to fight an old man or two to get this, but you could take him. Before we get to entertainment and all the fun spends, I want to cover everything that's essential, so I'm going to talk about transportation and utilities. It's well known that transportation in Japan is phenomenal, but can be expensive. There isn't a particular average that I can give you for train expenses, as that will vary based on where you are, your frequency, and all these other factors. Plus, I have a personal vehicle that I use to get around, so you can check Google Maps or Hyperia to get the cost of these trips. As far as a vehicle goes, gasoline costs 163 yen per liter, and I pay insurance of 8,000 yen per month. There are other important things to note if you're considering getting a car in Japan. Parking is a pain, and it adds up really quickly, so you'll have to consider where you'll be parking or if you'll have to pay for parking in the rent and other things. My car is also provided by my company, so things such as the yearly checkup and maintenance costs are things you'll have to consider as well. Now, there are lots of schemes and point cards that you can use to save money buying gas, but I just can't be bothered. It's too much here in Japan. It's an app for everything, so you should do your research on that. Now, utilities. Utilities aren't that bad until summer or winter comes along, and that's when they get you. Summer in Japan got up to 40 degrees this summer, and during the winter months in January, it was hitting -3 to -5 every night with little to no insulation in the apartments and houses. The electricity and gas usually double or triple during this time as heating and a warm cup of coffee become essential, and on the flip side in the summer when you need to escape the disgusting heat. Outside of the peak months of July, August, January and February, I spend on average about 3,900 yen per month on electricity and 4,200 yen per month on gas. And during the peak months, I've seen this double easily. Obviously, a large part of this is that you're using more of these things to keep comfortable, but there are certain things that can help you keep your cost a tad bit lower. I only keep lights on in rooms where I'm present and shut them off the moment I leave. The aircon only comes on when necessary, and I keep the doors shut once it comes on. Because of the lack of insulation in your apartment, it takes so long to cool down or heat up if you don't do this, so it's really essential. I've also recently begun unplugging all devices that I'm not using. I heard that if you leave things plugged in, it silently drains and raises your electricity bill. Don't know how true this is, but I'll try anything once during this time to save some money. A warm bath can keep you warm for hours on end, along with get rid of your nasty day smell. And you can keep a thermos or coffee cup near you at home, as well as spend more time out in public places like the library if you're really trying to keep things tight. For my phone plan, the final essential cost I'll cover, I pay 4,095 yen per month. That's with Yahoo Mobile, and it provides me with 15 gigabytes of data, I think. For me, it's not important to have a phone plan that provides lots of call minutes because I simply use Line to connect with anyone that I need to. Everyone has it, and it's free. Having a larger data bundle comes in handy when I'm lost, when I need to translate things, or I have to connect my laptop to get some last-minute work done. You can find whichever phone plan works best for you. Now for the non-essentials. This video has gone on way longer than I thought it would, So let's just run through these really quickly. I budget 12 to 15,000 yen per month for entertainment. A beer at the convenience store can cost roughly 150 yen, but at a bar it costs about 600 yen on average, and up to 1,000 yen at a nightclub or special event. Eating out varies wildly, but eating at a ramen shop can go from as low as 600 yen to 2,000 yen, and in my opinion, it's the best value you can get eating out without forethought. Why? Serving sizes. Plus the average ramen shop tastes really good. But as an adventurer, you obviously want to experiment more, so plan these ahead. The cost of meals can go up significantly and can sometimes cost up to 3,500 yen for a single meal at a non-chain restaurant. Events. Events are wonderful ways to experience the country and eat street food. But these small 600 yen here and 500 yen there items add up, and you check your pockets the next day and you're shocked. It requires conscious attention to not overspend when you're going out here, as the transportation cost adds up with the food cost, the event cost, the after event food cost, and it all becomes really annoying. Then you check your pocket and it's dust. The final thing I'll touch on, because I struggle so much with this, is convenience stores. Convenience stores are a trap for the unintentional. You can do everything there. You can pay bills, do printing, even make Amazon purchases, and they're the most accessible public toilet facilities. The problem I have is that it's just too easy to get things done there. You go in to pay a bill or use the toilet and you find yourself in line to buy a coffee or to have a snack. And unfortunately, I'm not strong enough to walk in to go and pay a bill, see an apple custard pie, and not buy the apple custard pie. I try to budget about 4,000 yen per month on convenience store spending. And every month, without fail, I've gone 2 to 3 times over. Every month. Be cautious of your spending at convenience stores when you first come, because nothing seems like a lot when you're spending it $1 at a time. But it really adds up at the end of the month when you look back and realize all of the unintentional costs you've spent. And it's really important to keep track of your finances while you're here in Japan, because you don't want to find out that your company is a black company and now you're trapped in a very poor contract. And you don't want to not be able to move away from a neighbor that's making a lot of noise. You want to be empowered during your time here. You want to have a good time while you're here. Japan is an awesome place, but you don't want to find yourself in the poverty trap that a lot of people find themselves in, you know? Now, I'm not a financial planner by any means whatsoever, so please don't take my advice as gold. There are a lot smarter people out there and a lot more financially savvy people in Japan that you can look up to find more information about these things, and you should also do your own research before you come here. Now, make sure and smash that subscribe button for your boy.